Whether you're new or old to the Create mod, you'll soon figure out andesite alloy is a key component of almost any block you may find yourself in need of. Therefore, it's probably a good idea to automate it, which is where I come in, with an andesite alloy farm ready-made for you to build in your worlds. This farm uses the flint method for making the andesite, combining it with a little bit of lava, some gravel and some flint, compacted down into the andesite, along with just the standard iron farm for the nuggets required to mix it. So before we get started, here's the material list, so gather everything up and we can get started. And for this build, you're going to need a 14 by 14 area. Now bear in mind that I'm measuring this with the stone, not the smooth stone. This is simply just a border for the build. And we're going to be starting in this back right corner. So to start, we're going to have a rotation speed controller set to 48 speed. This can be either clockwise or anti-clockwise, doesn't really matter. On top of that, of course, large cogwheel. Behind this, we're then going to have 4 encased chain drives, and in front of those, 3 clutches. In front of them, 3 more drills. Then you're going to want to come underneath here, level with the rotation speed controller, and place in 3 shafts. Then connecting to these, we're going to want some belts. Now, the 2 right belts will come all the way down to the end, 1 block from the end of the area like this. And then the last one will go just 1 short of those. At the end of these belts, we're just going to take a small 2 long belt here, and then a 4 long belt in front of that. So once you've measured it all out, it should look something a little like this. And this line here is where we're going to be making our raw resources for the andesite. And we'll be doing that with a bunch of millstones. So here, we're going to place in 3 millstones, 2 blocks gap from the drills. In front of those, some andesite funnels. Same on the other side. And then for these front 2 belts here, we're going to add in 2 more millstones with andesite funnels on both sides again. As for the andesite recipe, we need 2 flint to every 1 gravel. So this will make them in proportion. Now to hook these up to rotational power, all we're going to do is take a shaft and place these in underneath where the millstones are, 2 vertical gearboxes and 2 cogs, just like that. Now, once we've got all of that processing done, we want to store the flint and gravel. So what we're going to do is on the double belt here, we're going to have a 2 wide vault, and then on the other one here, we're going to have a singular one. Now, it's important to note that we want these to be separate. So this single vault has to be facing the other way. So we don't want them to connect into a 3 wide vault, as we want to keep these resources separate. Coming off the front, we want to place an output funnel on all of these, and then just some input funnels on the back. And that is because in this next step here, we're going to be adding 2 threshold switches, 1 on top of the double vault, 1 on top of the single. On top of both of these, 2 redstone links, and then on this one, which the gravel will be going into, we'll just set a double gravel filter, this one for double flint. And these will be sending their signal to these clutches here. So again, we'll place down 2 redstone links, make sure they are the same, put them into receiving mode, and then just to save on a redstone link here, instead of putting a 3rd one here, we're just going to put a piece of redstone. So what this will do is when this system fills up with gravel and flint, these will activate, turn off the drills, and stop it from producing any more cobblestone. So that way it shouldn't backfill. Now we have flint and gravel for our andesite, we need lava, which we're going to do by the use of a dripstone farm. So we're going to start off with a pipe here, we're going to put our basin on top of that, and then a depot in front of it. And you can see here the depot has defaulted to outputting onto this belt, which we don't want. So we're going to input here and also input here, which you may have to shift and click to do. Although it's good to remember that if any of your funnels are facing the wrong way like this, you can just click them with a wrench to flip their in and out states. So with our basin set up, we can take this pipe here, add an extra one on the front, a mechanical pump facing towards the basin, and again you can use a wrench to flip the direction if you need to. And then coming from this pump, we want to expand our pipes into a 3 wide and go back 7 blocks. So you should have a 3 by 7 area like this. On top of all of these pipes, we're just going to place in our cauldrons like so. So the next step here is going to get a little bit compact. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to throw in a creative motor just so you can see the direction which all the belts are moving, as it may help make it a bit easier for you to follow. So in order to hook up these belts and this gearbox and the press that we're going to need for this, what we're going to do is we're going to place a shaft in this belt, followed by a gearbox, followed by 2 vertical gearboxes. Out of that, we're going to have 2 cogs over to the pipe. And then from here, we're going to take some encased chain drives. We're going to have one there, one facing the other direction, and then the last one going into the press. There is a reason for this one being sideways, as we are going to pull power out of it later to power a different area of the build. And I am aware we do need to add the dripstone for the lava farm to work, but I'm not going to add that just yet, as it's quite big and bulky, and as you can see here, it might make the rest of the farm quite difficult to see, so we're going to do that last. But anyway, for our next step, now we have the andesite being produced, we need to combine that with iron nugget to make the andesite alloy. So what we're going to do here is we're going to take another cog, followed by 2 encased chain drives. In front of this chain drive, we're going to place one more shaft, and then with a 5-block long belt in front of it. Coming from the back of this belt, we want to place in another one here. So you should have 2 belts running along the front like this. But on the short belt, we're going to place a depot on the end of that, followed by the basin on top of the belt in front of it. And just like we did with the andesite, we're going to place an input funnel here, and then an input funnel on the back here too. On top of the basin, of course, we need our whisk, which we're going to hook up with this horizontal chain drive we left earlier. So we're going to pull some shafts out of here into a vertical gearbox into a cog, which will just connect to there. Of course, right now, mine is not rotating with enough speed, but when we finish off the farm and hook it all up, this will all be working. I'm just using my little motor on a slow speed right here, just so you can easily see what's going on. With this being the basin that makes the andesite alloy, we're going to want this to go into a storage vault where we can pull it from later on. So we're going to take a 2x2 vault here and make this 5 blocks long. We're going to add our input funnel just here, and you can see the basin will still spit out the items even into this tiny portion of a block, and then it will go into the vault here. But of course, this is all well and good for making the andesite alloy if we had iron. So let's work on that part now. So for the iron, we're going to start off with our temporary storage buffer, which will be a 3x3x1 vault in this gap here. So with the vault set up, we're going to add in a funnel here with a list filter for gravel set to deny. So this is where our gravel is going to sit while it washes. And it's actually important to note that we should add in some copper casings on these, otherwise the items may have a chance to blow into that little area where the pipes are and get stuck, which we don't want. So we're just going to put 2 casings on these to stop that from happening. So after using the casing to block these off, what we're going to do is we're going to leave a 1 block gap, add in our shaft here and here, and then a belt over the top of those. And then using a temporary block to place in our shafts, we're going to place 4 down just like this, and again, run belts to the edge of the vault here. So what you should have is something like this. So once you've got these belts set up, what we're going to do is we're going to take 2 gearboxes into a rotation speed controller, and this will be set to 128 in the clockwise direction. And then of course, big cog on top of that, and then a clutch here. Now this right here is the main input for the farm. So I'm going to move my little testing creative motor just over here, and you can see this is going to get things moving. However, this side of the farm isn't moving, so we need to get that hooked up still. So to get the andesite part of the farm moving and grooving, all we're going to do is we're going to take our stressometer, which you don't have to put this here. You can replace this simply with a shaft if you want to, but I figured it was a good little place for a stressometer. Followed by 2 encased chain drives, going into a large cog, which will go into a rotation speed controller. This will be set to maximum speed. And then a gearbox just to hook up that belt there. Now, again, if your belts are going the wrong direction, you can simply grab the rotation speed controller, flip it to the opposite track, and it'll inverse the direction like this. And now you can see with that hooked up, everything on the front here, which was running slowly before, is now running at maximum speed, which is great. So now here, we just need to get the iron being produced with a stone and gravel generator. So what we're going to do for that is we're going to place in our millstones on the second block back of these belts, with our andesite funnels on both sides, as we did before. Coming off the corner of this, we're going to take another rotation speed controller set again to 48 with a large cog on top. Off the back of this, once again, our chain drives with mechanical drills in front. To hook up these millstones to power, we're simply just going to add a vertical gearbox onto here with a small cog there. Oh, and it appears I seem to have forgotten, like, you know, the washing part of the gravel. That's pretty important. We should probably build that. So in order to wash the gravel into the iron nuggets, what we're going to do is we're just going to take a shaft inside this corner belt here with another rotation speed controller set all the way down to 1 RPM. we're going to take a small cog coming off of that into an encased fan. Now again, if your fan is going the wrong way like this, simply inverse the direction and then it will go the right way. And the reason we're using this all the way down at 1 RPM is because with fans, they don't actually increase processing speed when you run them at higher RPMs, it just increases the distance of the fan. So therefore we can get away with running this at 1 RPM. This will only use maybe 8 stress units and it's super cheap and it works just the same speed. But anyway, once we've done this, we're going to place in a slab of any choice just above there with some framed glass trapdoors all around this top block here, with a brass funnel above that set to output. This funnel will have a flint filter just into a lava bucket like this. And of course we can't forget, we just need to waterlog that slab down below, so that is now washing, and then we have our little trash system and our washing system just below it. The eagle-eyed among you may recognize this little iron generator design, and nope, ripped straight from my iron farm because it works a treat and no regrets. It works great. But anyway, now you're at this point in the farm, that is actually all of the mechanisms we need, all the create stuff done, and this thing should work. All we've got to do is get our lava and water buckets in the right place. So we'll start off with our cobblestone generators, and all we need to do is simply place in our trapdoors surrounding the area where the lava is going to be. So once you have an area built up like this, we can simply place in our lava buckets there, which will flow down into there. We add in our water buckets, which will make stone, and then it should be running. And then we just add in the same little setup in front of these drills. Now it's important to note we don't need a trapdoor on this block here, as we will be placing in the pointed dripstone, but any temporary block here for now will do. And then waterlog. Whoop, and if it spills out over the side, just throw another trapdoor on. Great. But anyway, speaking of dripstone, it's time to put it in. So all we need to do is, with a 1 block gap, put in any solid block of your choice above all the cauldrons, with pointed dripstone underneath those. Now when you get to this one, your temporary block, you just punch that out, replace it with a dripstone, and you'll see that this does actually hold back the lava. Then with a couple more temporary blocks, we just want to make this too thick on top, because that allows us to easily place in the trapdoors, which will be holding the lava up here. So with that done, we can punch all of these out and fill in the lava buckets for our lava generator. So it's worth noting that because the lava generator is probably going to be a little bit slower than the rate we are generating our other resources, this is why we've added these threshold switches, so we can manage the other stuff while we wait for the lava. Because we don't want to have a backlog of cobblestone when this completely fills up. That is bound to cause lag. Oh, and it appears that I may have lied. I'm sorry. We actually do need one more brass filter just on the front here with an iron nugget thing, and that can go straight into there. Great. Now, you should have all of your andesite alloy going into this big vault, but we still need just a little way to pull it out of there so we can grab it and actually use it. And usually my favorite little way of getting items out of vaults is I just place down a depot with an output funnel like that, followed by a threshold switch, and then we can just use some Nixie tubes up here, right-click those with a display link, plop that onto there, percentage fill, and there we go. That will tell us how much the vault is filled up. And then one last little extra step that you could do if you wanted this farm to have an off switch is we just place a redstone link on the side of this threshold with, say, a double andesite alloy filter. We just pop the other one all the way over here on the clutch, which we're using to power this thing. So now when that vault fills up with andesite alloy, it should turn the whole thing off. But yeah, I think that is all done. There is one fully functioning andesite alloy farm. Thank you all very much for watching. If you enjoyed this build, then make sure to leave a like and a comment. Let me know any other things you want me to cover in the future. I know it's been a while since I made a tutorial. I mean, I kind of was a bit, I was putting this one off because I was kind of scared of it, but I'm glad to have made another one here, because it always makes me feel good when you guys find these things super helpful. So that'll be all from me today. Thanks for watching. See y'all later.